Well, I heard them, and one night I heard my mother whisper to my father saying, "I think he's crazy. I think there's something wrong with him." I guess she was right.
He's the genius behind Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and The Wolf of Wall Street. An auteur with a vision so intense, it's either transformative or terrifying. Martin Scorsese has built cinematic legends, but not every actor survives the process. In fact, some never step on set again.
Juvenilia, in a way, we were trying. This is something, talk about a philosophy of another kind, maybe. Not directly in the storytelling, but a sense of a national or cultural suicide.
These are the actors who clashed with Hollywood's most obsessive filmmaker. Collaborations that ended in chaos, screaming matches, and roles that vanished overnight. Because when you step into Scorsese's world, one wrong move can cost you everything. James Caan had everything Scorsese was drawn to: raw intensity, street-born charisma, and a simmering volatility that made him magnetic on screen. Coming off his breakout role as Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, Caan seemed like a perfect fit for Scorsese's gritty vision of New York. But their creative partnership never made it past the rehearsal stage, and the fallout became Hollywood legend. In the mid-70s, Scorsese was developing Italian American, a personal character study set in Little Italy. Caan was approached for the lead. On paper, it was a match made in cinematic heaven. But behind closed doors, things unraveled fast. From the first rehearsal, tensions flared. Caan, confident, bold, and used to improvising, began rewriting lines on the spot. To him, it was part of the process. To Scorsese, it was mutiny. Crew members described the moment Marty exploded. An infamous tirade so intense, people said the walls shook. He wanted improvisation, Caan said later, but only his kind of improvisation. The project collapsed within weeks. Officially, it was labeled Creative Differences. Unofficially, Scorsese had told close friends that Caan was impossible to direct. The two men never worked together again. It was a partnership that could have redefined 1970s cinema. Instead, it became a cautionary tale of two giants colliding at full speed, with no room to compromise. But Scorsese wouldn't have to wait long for another clash, this time with an actor whose performance would earn Oscar recognition, and still not be enough. Mark Wahlberg was never supposed to steal the spotlight in The Departed, but that's exactly what happened. Cast as the foul-mouthed Sergeant Dignam, Wahlberg brought a raw, street-level energy that made the character unforgettable. Audiences loved it. The Academy did too. He received the film's only acting nomination. But there was one person who wasn't impressed: Martin Scorsese. From the start, their working relationship was tense. Scorsese had handpicked Wahlberg for his Boston roots and no-nonsense attitude. He wanted grit. But what he didn't expect was resistance. Behind the scenes, Wahlberg challenged the character's development, questioning line choices and pushing back on direction. What Marty wanted was layered subtlety. What he got was defiance wrapped in swagger. On set, things came to a head during one of Dignam's infamous profanity-laced scenes. Scorsese kept yelling, "Less, less," trying to peel back the performance. But Wahlberg only leaned in harder. One crew member later recalled, "Everything about the guy screamed more. He couldn't turn it off." The result? A memorable performance, but a fractured collaboration. Despite his success in The Departed, Wahlberg was quietly passed over for Scorsese's next two major projects, Shutter Island and The Wolf of Wall Street. He was never seriously considered. Scorsese would later reflect on the experience with a telling remark: "Sometimes an actor gives you exactly what audiences want, but not what the character needs." It was a reminder that in Scorsese's world, even award-worthy isn't always the right fit. And if that seems harsh, just wait. Because Scorsese's next creative clash involved one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, and a corset that nearly ended everything. Julia Roberts was once in talks to enter Martin Scorsese's elite circle. During early pre-production for The Age of Innocence, she was seriously considered for the role of Countess Ellen Olenska, a mysterious, tragic figure exiled by New York's high society. On paper, Roberts had the emotional range, the star power, the elegance. But what she didn't have, according to Scorsese, was the ability to disappear into another time. It started with the costumes. Scorsese insisted on absolute historical authenticity, right down to the discomfort of tightly laced corsets. For him, the physical struggle helped inform the performance. For Roberts, it felt more like punishment. In a later interview, she would allude to a director who wanted me to literally not breathe properly just to understand the role. That wasn't the only clash. Scorsese reportedly wanted a colder, more restrained portrayal, something that echoed the quiet suffering of a woman trapped by social codes. Roberts, known for her warmth and charm, kept trying to humanize the role, to bring modern emotional depth. And Marty wasn't having it. The breaking point came in a private meeting where the two debated the character's cultural identity. Roberts left the conversation frustrated. Not long after, she pulled out of the project. Officially, she cited scheduling conflicts. Unofficially, it was clear. The working relationship had collapsed before it even began. Scorsese would later sum it up bluntly. In period pieces, I need actors who can vanish into another era, not ones who make the past feel like the present. But the next misfire wasn't about costumes or chemistry. It was about a Hollywood heartthrob who completely misunderstood the assignment and got kicked out before a single frame was shot. Before Robert De Niro became Jake LaMotta in Raging Bull, there was another name on the table, Ryan O'Neal. Coming off hits like Paper Moon and Barry Lyndon, O'Neal had Hollywood charm in spades, and Scorsese was curious. Could this polished leading man tap into the brutal, self-destructive rage of a boxer on the edge? The answer came quickly, and it was a firm no. According to longtime editor Thelma Schoonmaker, O'Neal's audition in Scorsese's New York office remains one of the most uncomfortable hours of her career. From the moment O'Neal walked in, there was a disconnect. He read the script like it was written in another language, asking to soften LaMotta's violent outbursts, tone down the darker moments, make the character more likable. Scorsese didn't say much until he did. "If you're worried about likability," he told O'Neal, "you're in the wrong room." That was the end of it. O'Neal was out. The door never opened again. Years later, he would refer to the meeting in his memoir, admitting that some directors want raw ugliness. "I've always believed the audience needs a way in, a reason to care." But Scorsese wasn't interested in sympathy. He was chasing truth. Ugly, unflinching, and often uncomfortable. O'Neal didn't fit that mold, and he never got another chance. And as cold as that dismissal may seem, it wouldn't be the last time Scorsese pushed an actor to the brink. Because when it came to emotional manipulation on set, no one was tested harder than Winona Ryder. In 1999, Jim Carrey was on top of the world. Fresh off The Truman Show and Man on the Moon, he had proven he wasn't just a comedian. He was a serious actor with real range. At the same time, Martin Scorsese was quietly developing a long-gestating biopic of Howard Hughes, a film that would eventually become The Aviator. And for a brief moment, their paths almost crossed. Scorsese saw potential in Carrey's manic energy, an actor capable of capturing Hughes's brilliance, paranoia, and eventual decline. But their creative chemistry unraveled almost immediately. It started during an intensive character workshop in New York. Carrey arrived with a barrage of ideas: physical transformations, accents, age progression, wild improvisations. He was prepared to morph into Hughes in real time. Scorsese sat in silence. As Carrey went deeper into his improv routine, one crew member remembered the room getting colder by the second. The real issue came down to control. Scorsese's process demands precision. Every line, every movement crafted with surgical intent. Carrey, on the other hand, thrived on spontaneity. He wanted the freedom to find the character. Scorsese wanted the actor to become the character he'd already envisioned. After that meeting, the project quietly shifted. In the world of filmmaking, few relationships matter more than the one between actor and director. But in Martin Scorsese's world, that relationship isn't just important, it's everything. He doesn't just direct performances, he demands transformation. And for those unwilling or unable to meet that demand, the cost can be steep. Each of these actors brought undeniable talent. Some were Oscar winners, others were icons. But all of them clashed with a filmmaker who values obsession over compromise. Scorsese isn't interested in comfort, charm, or likability. He wants truth, no matter how uncomfortable it gets to find it. And maybe that's the price of greatness. Because in an industry driven by box office numbers, social media buzz, and algorithmic trends, Scorsese remains one of the last purists. He doesn't bend to fit the actor bends to fit the vision, or they don't come back. So the next time you watch a Scorsese film, look closely, not just at who's in the frame, but at who isn't. Behind every legendary performance is a list of actors who couldn't survive the pressure, the process, or the precision. And that might be the most revealing thing of all.